Hey all, Estuary Cleaning, cleaning woods of the Fylde Coast. I want to put this video up as a response to Splash and Dash, who is one of our subscribers on the channel. And it relates to bringing in help, PAYE and all this sort of stuff. For PAYE is pay as you earn, which is how income tax is paid from a company on behalf of an employee to HMRC. Okay, so with that in mind, if you wish to know more about PAYE, approach an accountant or an accredited person. I'm only in a position to give you my experiences and the decision-making process behind those experiences. So for me personally, I did toy with the idea of using PAYE employees, and the issue that I found early on in my business was that I couldn't offer full-time contracts to employees on PAYE basis. Why is that? In the residential window cleaning business as a whole, unless you have an abundance of customers, and I mean mountains, like more than what I have, to be honest with you, it's going to be very hard for you to guarantee that level of work where there is enough for you to pay yourself and pay your employees without written contracts. And written contracts tend to only be for big commercial jobs. So say for argument's sake, if I was to take on or win a contract for something like Manchester Airport, where it's literally a case of you could have two guys, pay two guys 40 hours a week to literally clean nothing but the windows and any associated mirrors and glass in Manchester Airport, and they'll start at one end of the complex and they'll work their way right then to the other. Unless you were prepared to obviously, unless you could win that level of contract, it's going to be very hard to bring in for residential window cleaning full-time PAYE. That's not to say that it can't happen. I believe that Lee Pryor runs Pryor's window cleaning, and his operation is fully employee basis. It's the largest window cleaning company in the United Kingdom, I believe, that operates off with employees. That's not a franchise. So that's where my business is going, is franchising. But more on that in another video, I think. The reason I don't want to use PAYE employees is because really, unless I'm prepared to get offer and guarantee 35, 40 hours a week, which I can't always do, then ultimately that leaves me with with having to use 0 hour contracts. And I fundamentally disagree with 0 hour contracts. I don't think they're fair. I think they are skewed in the direction, generally speaking, of the employer, because ultimately, if you're on a 0 hour contract and expected to work full-time hours, let's say for whatever reason, the business is hard times, generally speaking, what happens is that you lose hours, or they'll only give you what hours they can give you, but at the same time you've been expecting full-time hours, but they're not legally obliged to give them, which is a bit of a con, really. I fell foul of this a couple of years ago when I was an employee. Ultimately, he said at the interview, excuse me, we can give you 35 hours a week, no problem at all, but you'll sign a 0 hour contract, but we'll look after you, wink. Yeah, never happened. And if they could basically ring you up first thing in the morning and say, "Oh, Chris, don't come into work today," and you'd be like, "Cheers, easy, thanks for that." And ultimately, the law is on their side. I don't think that's a fair way to operate a business, to be honest with you. And I'm a big believer in empathy and sort of integrity with the people that work for you. If people can take time out of their their lives to work for you, then ultimately you have an obligation, I believe, to treat them fairly. So if you can't offer them full-time hours and you're not prepared to offer 0-hour contract, what does that leave you with? Well, for me, I had a bit of a discussion with my accountant and with my solicitor, and we discussed self-employed subcontractors. So much in the same way that a building company might utilise self-employed subcontractors to do selected works on building sites and all that sort of stuff. The companies that utilise the contractors book the work in advance. They're not obliged to maintain that workflow. If there's no work, there's no work. But then the self-employed subcontractor can seek work elsewhere without being penalised effectively. And effectively the ball is in their court, to be honest with you. It's a more balanced and fair system, I find. So how would that work in practice with my business? So at the minute I have 3 lads that I use fairly regularly over different days, and I pay them because obviously when we do window cleaning, I think doing 8 hours a day of window cleaning can get quite tedious, and your level of concentration drops and the standard of work bottoms out. So the sort of magic sort of number that I've come up with is basically 6 or 7 hour working day. Don't forget it is manual job. You're lifting, at times you're lifting ladders, you're lifting heavy reels and all this sort of stuff. The water-fed pole and all that sort of stuff. Once you've been using it for a number of hours, like 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day, you'll go home and you've been working. You feel like collapsing on the couch and going to sleep, kind of thing. And I think that I found that towards the afternoon, the lads might the concentration isn't what it is, and mistakes get made, or windows get missed, or whatever, and stuff like that, or and the morale takes a hit. And really, you want your lads to be happy when they're working. So we hit a bit of a compromise. I had a look at the rota, and I will not put on that rota more work than I think can be done in a 6 or 7 hour period. And sometimes the lads work in pairs. Ordinarily pre-COVID they were working in pairs, but because I'm quite fortunate to have 2 vehicles at the minute. I'm looking at getting a third. I'm quite fortunate to have 2 vehicles, so I can socially distance. I can have one guy in each van, and let's say, for argument's sake, there are 30 jobs on the rota. They can smash through that in 6-7 hours. And if they were working in one van each, that's 15 jobs, and pay them ultimately £62 a day, which at 6 hours is £10 an hour. Okay, so if you pay them I pay them at £62 a day, or if they do more jobs, then I'll pay them maybe 80, 85 up to £100 a day, depending on how many jobs they want to smash through. So that's how I operate my business, because I think that is it's a fairer way of doing it. Because if they, for whatever reason, like one of my lads, Andy, he spent from the end of October, he gave me a quick call and said that he was going off to do his Christmas lights. So he puts up Christmas lights on people's houses and stuff like that over the Christmas period, and then in sort of January he'll take them down, spend his weekends taking them down and stuff like that. But he just wanted 8 weeks to go and put them up, and then he said he'd come back after New Year. And I was like, yeah, right, mate, no dramas. And the thing is, the other side of it is because I don't have any hold over them. So if I can't ring up any of my lads and say, right, I need you in 7 o'clock tomorrow, because they'll just tell me, no, go off. Ultimately, because the I ask them which days they want to work and all that sort of stuff, and between the four lads that I've got, I can fill a rota or fulfill 2 vehicles. And worst case scenario, if no one wants to work, then all right, fine, sod it, I'll go out. I'm not averse to doing a bit of hard work, so you know that's how we operate our business. We will probably at some point use utilize PAYE employees, but in my humble opinion, and it's just my opinion, I don't want to be bringing in an employee until I can cast iron guarantee them a full-time income. I won't ever use a 0-hour contract, to be honest with you. So that's just my thoughts on it. So I hope that was useful, mate, and I hope that other people found that useful as an insight. So yeah, ultimately I'll leave a link in the description for my health and safety guy again, because I provide health and safety training to the guys at work, just so I've got that one fuzzy feeling they know what they're doing, and you know that they're safe at work kind of thing, and you know, and I'll leave in a link in the description to someone who knows a bit more about the PAYE system, potentially my accountant. So yeah, hope that was useful. I will speak to you all in the next video. Take care, and I'll speak to you later.